Hello and welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of sports and more news in the National Football League as the verdict for Deshaun Watson has finally come out. He will be suspended 6 games without pay for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. So we're going to react to it. Tim, are you ready to go?
We'll save the reactions for when we get into it. So let's run it.
Let's do it. So after many months, many grand juries, many hearings, many lawsuits, Deshaun Watson has finally been suspended 6 games. There were some differences on what Deshaun Watson's camp wanted and the NFL wanted. The NFL wanted 12 games suspension plus $8 million in fines. The Watson camp wanted 6 to 8 games. They got the 6 games, and in the 15-page report by Judge Sue Robinson, she found there was not enough evidence to justify an indefinite suspension. So, wow.
It's an interesting one because a lot of people have a lot of different varying opinions based on the evidence versus just the sheer number of people and the way that all this has gone. I am of the opinion that I believe it should have been more than 6. The whole season, I don't know if I really ever saw that to be realistic, because I kind of knew straight from the get-go that it was gonna be very difficult to get, based on precedents and the actual ruling of things, for them to stretch that far to go the full year. I didn't see that really happening, but I also thought they would have a bit more of a backbone in general, although, as we've pointed out, this is the judgment of a independent arbitrator, but I really thought there could be more in this one. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I thought there was definitely going to be a longer suspension. 6 games seems kind of like a slap on the wrist, especially for the magnitude of what happened, how long this has been going on. Deshaun Watson missed all of last season. Let's not forget that. He hasn't played in the NFL since the 2020 season, and there's a reason for that. It's because all of this, you look at how many lawsuits were filed against him.
They just kept coming.
They just kept coming, and they just kept going. And granted, they settled all but one. But for this to last how long it has, and it for only to be 6 games, that's it. Like, if you look at the precedents, Deshaun Watson's teammate Kareem Hunt was suspended 8 games. I remember Ezekiel Elliott, he was suspended the same length, 6 games.
Yep.
And I think Deshaun Watson's case has gone on a lot longer and is a lot more serious than what Ezekiel Elliott was accused of. And for them to get the same punishment seems they didn't get it right. They did not get it right. And especially when you look at Calvin Ridley's year-long suspension, which we covered for gambling.
Yeah.
You have gambling, which is now perfectly legal in a lot of states, versus 25 civil lawsuits. One got a year-long suspension, and one of them didn't even get half a season.
Yeah, those 2 that you just briefly mentioned, with the Ezekiel Elliott case and the Calvin Ridley case, those 2 are the ones that most prevalently come to mind when I think about this type of situation, because of the fact that I understand why Calvin Ridley was suspended in general.
Granted,
there's a difference between general gambling and gambling as a professional athlete in your own sport. I get it, but the precedents you're setting as a league is that you care more about the integrity of whether or not that you're affecting the game by paying money, as opposed to the lives, well-beings, and futures of a multitude of women out there. Because for the Calvin Ridley one, you talk about the difference between what those 2 cases meant for the overall outcome of life in general and people's lives. But then you look at the situation with Ezekiel Elliott compared to the Deshaun Watson, and you never want to downplay anything, but you're talking 25 stories to 1, and you have now doled out an equal number of punishment based on those 2 cases, and I don't see how that is equal in any way. You can argue about differences in the cases all you want. I personally thought that with how all this was dragged out and the magnitude of it all, that they were finally going to push the boundaries a little bit.
Yeah, I thought they were going to lay
precedents.
the hammer down. Yeah, if you want to look across leagues, Trevor Bauer in the MLB.
That's the big example, is Trevor Bauer.
Got suspended for 324 games, 2 full seasons, which didn't include the time that he had missed from the Dodgers already. And it was arguably the same case. It was a sexual misconduct case with Trevor Bauer and Deshaun Watson. The difference with Trevor Bauer, it was 1 or 2 women. Deshaun Watson has 25 civil lawsuits again, and he doesn't even miss half a season. Like, I understand that when he faced multiple grand juries, and both grand juries said that there was that they wouldn't indict him. Okay, fine.
That's an entire separate thing on its own. Yeah,
that's a separate thing on its own.
That's the whole point of them being able to take that into consideration and then make their own decision on how much, so that it is truly your league's decision, regardless of what the courts say. Because the courts come and lay down the law,
find not enough evidence to charge him criminally, that I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters given the circumstances, given the magnitude, given the length of time, given how this has impacted people's lives. I don't think it matters, and I would have told you that they were going to bring the hammer down on Deshaun Watson, and they didn't.
Yeah, and it's definitely it's already gotten very interesting reactions from a lot of people. A lot of NFL fans in general are not happy with the outcome, just for the sake of what it means. And it's going to be very interesting to see as this continues to progress, what is said and done about it. Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe the NFL could appeal it.
They can. They have 3 days to appeal it.
But from the history of professional sports and the NFL in general, if I had to guess, I would say this is their easy cop-out answer of, we tried to appeal it. We pushed, we wanted this amount of games, we didn't get it. They got the 6 games. Like, oh no, those 6 more games that just, if you're talking about potentially a 12-game suspension, for example, oh no, those 6 more games that Deshaun plays, the NFL is going to make more money because he's going to be back on the field, and it's going to be more must-see football than if it was Jacoby Brissett at quarterback.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't see them making the extra effort to try to change this ruling, because at the end of the day, they tried, yet it still kind of works out in their favor money-wise, which at the end of the day is really what these leagues seem to care about.
Even if they do appeal the decision, and I think the 6 games is going to stick personally. So even if they do appeal it and the 6 games does stick, they can go, oh, we tried to get the 12 games. We tried to suspend him for as long as possible, but our appeal was denied. Look at the NFL.
Yeah, they can claim the moral high ground while still reaping the benefits of the decision.
When in reality, you look at the precedent in all of the previous cases, like, this isn't even half of the longest sexual misconduct suspension ever. Like, Kareem Hunt on his own team suspended for 2 more games. So what does that tell you? I don't know. Bottom line, I think the NFL had a chance to really make a statement, and a swing and a miss.
Yeah, I definitely believe they fumbled the bag on this one in some way, shape, or form. But there's a lot of people who feel that way. So we're certainly not in the minority on that one.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because of the contract and the price that Cleveland had to pay for Deshaun Watson. And because in March, there were no criminal charges placed on Deshaun Watson, the Browns decided to pull the trigger and give him a 5-year, $230 million contract, which was all guaranteed upon being paid. And because Deshaun Watson is only making, I think, $1 million this year, he misses out on very, very little of that $230 million. And I mean, the Browns have said that they're going to stay committed to Deshaun, that they think he's doing the right thing. However, that's not what this is about. This is just our reaction to what the ruling was, and we think that it should have been longer. So, Tim, you got anything else to say?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of beating the same drum of, like, we think there was a mistake made. And at the end of the day, there's probably not going to be a whole lot done to potentially correct this, other than I think there's going to be a lot of public feedback, very aggressive feedback towards the NFL and towards the decision in general. But we'll see how it all plays out in the coming weeks and heading into the season. But as of right now, week 7,
That's
Deshaun Watson's return.
that's what it's looking like. The suspension was handed out, and it's just another statistic for sexual misconduct suspensions. So
It's disappointing.
that's all we got for our reaction to the Deshaun Watson suspension. If you want to watch more from us, we have a lot more football content. We have baseball content. The trade deadline is right here, so we've been covering that. College football, college basketball, the NBA, the NHL. We got it all. If you want it, we probably got it. So like and subscribe for more content from us, and we out.